Hello, Hannah the Suburban Witch here, and today I'm going to be sharing with you a fun tarot exercise to get to know yourself better and your cards as well. If you're new to my channel, I'm Hana the Suburban Witch, an intuitive tarot reader and astrologer, and I love bringing all of my witchy content to you here on YouTube. I release a video every Wednesday, so make sure to hit subscribe so you never miss one. You can also find me over on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Patreon, and my website, suburbanwitchery.com, where I have a blog as well. So for this exercise, I'm going to be using my Rider-Waite-Smith deck. You can use any deck that you have on hand. Now, this is one where you are going to actually look at the cards that you're choosing rather than choosing them blind. So you don't need to shuffle, you don't need to do any of that, but what we're going to be doing is basically spreading them out face up and going through them or thumbing through them, however is easiest for you. And what we're doing is we're going to be looking at creating almost like a map to our lives up until this point. So this is really fun to do. So I like to do it in decades. So I may say the ages of 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 20 to 30, etc. So what we're going to do is we're going to choose a card that represents that decade for you. Now you may want to stick with the major arcana. They are, life archetypes that we see throughout our lives. So they can be really, really powerful, but you don't have to. You can use the minors as well. Now I'm going to share with you what I have chosen, and I want you to feel into and think about what you would choose for that area of your life. It's going to be different for everyone. And you may look back in the next 10 years, do this exercise again and say, you know what? I think I've changed my opinion on that. I'm going to use a different card now. And what is that going to tell me? And what can I learn from that? So it's a really cool exercise to look into you and how you reflect on your past as well and what you want to bring in for your future. So beginning with my childhood, 0 to 10, I've chosen the Sun card. Now the Sun card is happy, it's vibrant. We see a little child on top of this horse, sunflowers. When I think of my childhood, and granted I don't have a ton of memories there, but the ones that I do have are family holidays. They are being outside in the sun, jumping on the trampoline with the sprinkler on, or my dad hanging us over the balcony by our hands and dropping us onto the trampoline, which my mum was very mad about. But lots of really fun things that we did as a family and we did with our neighbours and all of these really great things. Now, if I think about school at that time, I would choose a different card. But I'm just thinking overall, what are my main memories from then? And we get, innocence, childlike, very, sunny disposition, our true personality. We're not afraid of who we are. So that's what I take from this card. And that's why I chose that for 0 to 10. Then we look at 10 to 20, the teenage years. And of course, these cards are going to be a little bit more moody. So there are 3 potential cards that I could have chosen here. And I'm going to go through each of them and then show you the one that I actually chose. And again, you can look back in a few years and go, you know what? I think that's different now. So the first one, I'd say the Tower. When I was a teenager, I had my parents' divorce, I went through depression, eating disorder, self-harm. There was a lot of things that went through in that time. We got kicked out of the church, moved house, there was a lot of stuff going on. So the Tower definitely was a recurrent theme for me during that time. Then we also have the Devil, and I would say that because of the addictions that I was going through in terms of my mental health and what I turned to cope with that and how I dealt with those, and exploring my sexuality as well. So that was happening in my later teens as well. And then the card that I actually chose was the Moon card. And the reason being for this is I actually associate the teenage years personally with my astrology side as to being more in line with your moon sign and feeling that more intensely. The emotions that come through as a teenager are so incredibly intense, and I'm a Scorpio moon, and that was definitely a very Scorpio way to go through everything with the transformations that came through breaking down those mental health barriers, you know, going to deep lows and high highs and that sort of thing. So, and I was very secretive as well about everything I was going through. So that to me resonates more with my moon sign and the moon here. And what we see in the moon card as well, we've got this, you know, crayfish crawling up. It's meant to reflect on the subconscious, deepest, darkest fears that we have. And they all came to the surface for me during that time. But you know what? It was so crucial to my development, to who I am, and to figuring out all the bits and bobs about myself. So that's why I chose the moon card for my teenage years. Then we go to my 20s. So the 20s were very different. And I'm going to show you an example of using some of the minors here as well. So I met my husband in my 20s. I actually met him when I was 21 and we've been together ever since. So I pulled out the Two of Cups and I thought that's perfect because we met on equal ground. We were both coming at the exact same point in our life and we've been, you know, entwined at the hip since then. So that was a perfect example for me of that. But I also did a ton of travel in my 20s. I lived abroad for a couple of years. I traveled all through North America, South America, and also Southeast Asia. So I did a lot of travel and got to explore the world. So the Three of Wands was another one that I could resonate with that stage of my life. The Hermit. My spiritual awakening happened during my 20s. This is when I really dove into myself and my healing and figuring out a lot about what I believed in and what I believed to be true about the universe. So there was a lot of study and things like that as well. I also undertook a couple of courses during that time, so it all feels relevant to that Hermit energy. But the card that I chose was the Star card. Now remember, I almost chose the Tower for my teen years, and the Star follows the Tower, and this is a card of healing and rejuvenation and, you know, stripping back all those layers, which is absolutely what I did. I had my first child in my 20s. That kickstarted a lot of healing for me. So did that spiritual awakening. So this was definitely the theme that I went through in my 20s and the one that I resonate with strongest. Now, I've only just turned 30, so I can't actually say what the next decade is going to bring for me, but I can choose a card intentionally for what I want it to bring. And that's what I recommend you do for the 10 years above where you're at currently. Or if you're 23, you might want to do for the rest of your 20s, for example. So, and you can break these down into 5-year parts if that's easier for you, totally up to you. So what I've got here, so I've got the Empress and I've also got the Strength card, and I can't really choose what I want, but I think in the end I'm going to go with the Empress. And the Empress is because this is almost my motherhood time. I'm currently pregnant with my second child. I plan to have a third child, so it's going to be definitely all babies, fertility, growth, growing my business, growing myself, growing my children. So there's a lot of growth going on here, love and beauty. I feel so much more confident in myself and who I am now than I ever have in my life before. So that love and beauty vibes coming in, like she knows she's in power and control. She knows who she is. So that's the energy that I want to embody, but also strength, because I mean, who doesn't want inner courage and strength, but also of that really kind variety that comes from a really good heart. So that's another thing I would like to bring into my 30s. So I'd love to hear from you guys. What did you pick? Did you like this exercise? Is it something that you're going to try? Let me know, leave a comment below. And as always, I will chat to you next time. Bye.